on this episode of the podcast. So, if you've been keeping up to date with social media and all that, then you know that Netflix has included now the last Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra. But on this episode, we're going to talk about The Last Airbender. On the next episode, I hopefully I'm going to bring in our first guest. He is a coworker of mine that, I kind of lost my job to because of COVID-19, but he's also an theater major. He's an actor, and he's just funny. He's cool. I like him. And we've been discussing Avatar for like the past 2 weeks, and I kind of want to bring him in. He's also a Doctor Who fan, so when I have a Doctor Who episode, I'm certainly going to include him. And he knows more about the old classic Who, and he could just probably teach me and you guys a little bit something. So I can't wait for that. But let's go on with the show. So Saturday mornings, I would get up and watch Static Shock, Teen Titans, Justice League, the Batman from the 1990s. Maybe sometimes, I think it was later on my later teenage years that they brought up the Batman from 2005. And it was kind of like a futuristic Batman, futuristic take. I didn't like the Joker. I didn't like his design. I liked the voice actor, but I just did not like the design. Actually, he had like a Jamaican design. No, no, it wasn't. It wasn't for me. It was off-putting. But in the afternoons, the Last Airbender would show, and it would be on Nickelodeon, of course. And the adventures that they would go on, kids fighting the Fire Nation soldiers, trying to bring balance and peace in the world, was everything to me. Kids that I can relate to, like Sokka's humor, Aang's resilience in the show, Toph's toughness, being small but yet powerful, and Katara's compassion and trying to relate herself, not trying to relate herself, trying to show her compassion like her mother did. And I know a lot of you, like me, took a lot from that show and made you who you are right now, right? The adventures that they would go on taught us about friendship, about being ambitious, even though the weight of the world rests on your shoulders. Recovering first before battling an obstacle is a must. You mustn't let your ego get ahead of you. Listen to the wise people that have lost or are trying to teach you something about yourself, or even have tea with them. Politics will always come down to morals and ethics you hold. Monarchs don't do anyone good if they're just narcissistic and selfish. Fueling yourself with hate and redemption usually leads to nothing but stress and a waste of time by the time you realize it could even be the end of you. I mean, there's so much that show has taught me. Character developments were inspiring, especially, and I know a lot of you are going to say Aang, but I'm going to say Zuko. Zuko, the antagonist. The antagonist to the whole series except the last one, where he sees his faults and understands his uncle a little bit better. See, his character development is huge, and it's kind of what made the show the show. His hate for the Avatar was really his hate for his father. He did have to prove himself, and he had to prove himself worthy, kind of like the Thor and Odin. But he was also exonerated from his national royal family of the Fire Nation. His uncle Iroh, which is I wouldn't say he's my second because I think I would put him and Toph at number one, and I wouldn't be able to choose either or. But Uncle Iroh, Iroh was really the father of Zuko. He's the Piccolo of this show. This man taught him life lessons, and we see one thing that I think a lot of people missed, and I think it was important. And I saw this from a clip because I didn't notice until first I watched the whole show, and then I realized he did something, and I was like, "What am I missing from here? What did I forget?" And then I saw it on a clip. I think it was on TikTok. Sue me, I'm 24. But it was the first firebending lesson he had with his uncle, and it was the breathing technique. And I'm gonna quote Iroh. It is the breathing technique is the energy in the body. The energy extends past your limbs and becomes fire. This is the first lesson, the first episode of the series, and we see this. Zuko perfected this technique and understood his uncle a little bit better. When Zuko helps Sokka break his father out of the volcano prison, and he gets put into a freezing temperature chamber, and he keeps his warmth by using this technique. And we see this when I think it was Suki and Sokka that open his door, and you just see him kind of lift his head up, and there's fire there. That's how he kept his warmth. And I thought that the significance of this was important in everyday life. When people just get anxiety, when they're about to do something, when they go into an interview, when they have to clutch, when they're going through a stressful situation, just breathe. Now, if we become firebenders like this, then let's not try to burn ourselves just yet. Book number 1 was about Aang going to the Water Tribe and learning his water bending alongside with Katara. The series takes place after 100 years of the Fire Nation declares war against other nations, and they have killed all airbenders in search of finding the Avatar, who has been reincarnated as the airbender named Aang. We learn about Aang's past lives and the Avatar state. Now, for instance, the Avatar state, the bender can bend all 4 elements: earth, air, fire, and water. It is the continuous cycle. So it's a continuous cycle. So when the person passes away, they reincarnate to somebody else. So Avatar Yangchen, an air nomad, was reincarnated as Avatar Karuk from the Northern Water Tribe, followed by Avatar Kyoshi from the Earth Kingdom, and Avatar Roku from the Fire Nation, and then Avatar Aang from the Air Nomads. Each avatar is a separate person, and I have to heavily say this because I'm going to bring this back up in the Legend of Korra episode. Uh, but I talk about the whole series, not just one episode. But the way that people didn't realize that that's a whole separate identity, a different personality. See, we see Aang as a scared but yet pacifist, and Korra in that show was more of a. She didn't have this ego that kind of strived for her, but she wasn't scared. She put herself out there for people until she saw Amon. But I'm not going to get into that. Like I said, Aang's a pacifist and a vegetarian, and I kind of relate to his pacifist as, the Jedi way or pre New 52 Superman, which is they would rather talk than fight. But now the New 52 Superman and now Rebirth, I haven't really read Rebirth perfectly, or his current run with like oh my god, I suck with names. Bendis, sorry. I've heard different opinions about it, but I haven't really read it myself. But I've tried being vegetarian, and I understand how in one episode he's been vegetarian his whole life. He never ate meat, and the one episode I think when they give him, I think fish, he wasn't all into it, and I think he spit it out or something. But the fact that he never went to it, and I tried being vegetarian for a month, and it wasn't easy, but I got used to it. But then I had to eat meat because I missed my carne asada. So we get an old history of Zuko's banishment and his disinheritance, crown prince of the Fire Nation. And I want to point out that this show isn't really always all about Aang. Don't get me wrong, it is, but it's not always about him. It includes everybody, and that's what I liked about it. And I knew that it included everyone else of the show and the characters, and I knew that they were going to get together at some point, even though Zuko was a villain at first, that they were going to fight someone else. It was a big looming factor of the big boss fight. You could get me, you could say I'm wrong, or you could disagree with me. I mean, don't believe me, but it's fine because I mean, I remember this as a kid growing up. He was kind of, and we know who the big boss fight is his father and Azula. It kind of felt like a video game, you know, keeping him in the dark, but his presence is always there. And I was right. But I didn't expect the character Toph to be freaking amazing. I mean, her character, her sense of humor, her dark sense of humor, her ability to make fun of herself and her sarcasm, her knowledge of bending, being blind, having a solar uh type of feeling the vibrations of the ground, of the earth, everything. It kind of being like Daredevil, you know what I mean? Having that ability and the wisdom. And there was this one episode which is heartbreaking at the end but hilarious in the beginning, and is when they go into the library and they're flying on Appa, and she goes, and everyone's like trying to find this library and trying to spot it, and Toph just goes, "Look, there it is!" And everyone's just happy and everyone's like enjoy, like, "Yes, we finally found it." And then she says, "That's what everyone will go when someone spots it." And does the John Cena "You Can't See Me," which is hilarious, which reminded me of one movie, See No Evil, Hear No Evil. If you haven't seen that, I'm pretty sure you're much younger than I am. Or maybe not. Maybe you're older. But if you know that movie from Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor, you gotta watch it. I mean, if you've seen it, you understand. If you don't, go watch that. Again, see no evil, hear no evil. I'm not talking about the one from Kane, the wrestler, where he made that movie. No. Whole different movie. It is vulgar though, so if you're older than, I say, 16. I mean, I think it's a rated R movie. If I'm wrong, I don't remember. But or even when they go into the tunnels and Sokka is like, "It's so dark in here, I can't see anything." And Toph goes, "Oh no, what a nightmare." And he goes, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry." It's just hilarious. It's so hilarious. And like that's what I'm saying, like the dark sense of humor in her is just, so we have to address the comments, or kind of like the social norms, the ideology of, or themes in this, kids show. It wasn't just a kids show. I think it taught us more. And see, I understand, and I completely get it now. Growing up, why English teachers or English professors make you be more analytical. After growing up, after growing up, after reading a book or an article or etc., it's like you're missing the points if you don't understand where the story is going or what it's trying to give you, what the message is, what the theme is, you know? And if you don't understand that, then, and or you don't do that with shows or with movies, then you completely miss the points. That's why I don't understand when people watch the Doctor Who but don't really get, or don't develop the theme, or say it's too It's too PC. Like, but that's the discussion. That's why everyone's here. Why can't you share your ideas or try to be a better human? Try to be a better person by, you know, talking about something or showing it in entertainment. Like that's the whole point, right? It's not fair to not discuss it. It's looming there. It's to talk about. It's to be analytical. That's the whole point of being a better human. And you see this, well, I saw this in comments and how you shouldn't be political because it's a kids show. But I'm like, there's so much theme to it. There's so much the setting, the whole monarch establishment, the Fire Nation was imperialist. The kingdom, the Earth Kingdom, again, a monarch establishment. The air nomads were based on Tibetan and Nepalese culture. I'm sorry about that. And the Shaolin monks and the Sri Lanka Buddhism and influences like Hinduism and such as the seven chakras that Aang learns later on in the seasons, which is I kind of want to come back to that in the Korra episode, because I have something about that. I have an idea. I mean, you could get me wrong. It is what it is, but there's a theory to that. Um, not really a theory, kind of like, oh, a wink at it, or maybe learning something from it. Anyways, and the Water Tribe was based on Inuit, Yupik, Cyrenaic, or Cyrenaic Eskimo cultures. It was the way they based on different cultures and different politics that we know as the Four Nations. It is heavily based on the cultures and politics when they travel to each village or city. You learn something from each village or city, and you understand what the social norms are, what they believe in, how do they cope, how do they advance, or do they advance as everyone else? A lot of people miss these points and are bound to be brainwashed by Jolie and the Ba Sing Se government. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm not wrong. Or tell me I am wrong. Tell me I'm not wrong. I don't know how that goes. So, talking about the reincarnation, Aang mostly got to talk to Roku and a little bit of Kyoshi, and his guidance of learning different bending is huge. Um, his knowledge is based on air nomads, right? But he, of course, goes to Roku to understand the Fire Nation and a little bit of how to firebend. His previous lives are connected, and he meditates and understands his previous lives, and to see for guidance to understand how to stop the 100 war that has happened and how to stop imperialism, how to stop invasions. I'm sorry. Aang is the only hope for the world to be together in peace. And as a kid, when the weight of the world rests on your shoulders, you don't know nothing, my guy. You don't know nothing. All you know is that you've been asleep for 100 years, and everything to you is new. Like Captain America, this man was asleep frozen for 70 years. All he knew was World War II, Germans, Nazis, America's going to war, fighting in a war, and how to fight in a war, command in a war. And he comes to a new world where technology has been advanced. Nations are a little more settled, more calmer. There's not really a big war yet, and there's superheroes around them. More superheroes. Depending on which one you know, like the comics, he already knew Wolverine. He had the Invaders. He was part of the Invaders. He knows a little bit of Nick Fury and his commandos, but when he comes to after 70 years, he knows. Well, he meets the Avengers, or he becomes part of the Avengers, and he knows more and whatnot. But another aspect of what I love about the Last Airbender, growing up as a kid, is that these guys lost. Yeah, no. What? These guys lost. They didn't win every battle. They lost a battle with the guy that can create explosions with his mind. The gang lost the battle with the Fire Nation a couple times. The guys lost the battle with the Earth Nation when Zula was king. Azula, sorry, Azula. These guys lost. And they learned how to win. They learned how to persevere. I mean, Aang was struck by lightning and was gone for a couple of weeks and had to, you know, learn a different culture, which was the Fire Nation culture, which has even, not even brainwashing, but messing around with history. And when they go into the episode, he goes to school, right? And they teach the wrong history of what has happened in the world. And they teach it in a way where they take out a lot of things and they only say a few things. I think one of them was when a certain general, instead of losing, he won, but the Fire Nation doesn't control that land or something like that. Like, it's this whole thing of reinventing the Fire Nation and making them superior to the world, even though they're not really. Again, political. Tell me I'm wrong. Alright, I don't have that much to say after this because I'm by myself and it's kind of getting lonely here. But on the next episode, ladies and gentlemen, it's my first time having a guest other than my co-host. Yes, I'm gonna have a guest. He's an actor. He loves Doctor Who. He has been a director for a theater for not theater. Well, for a theatrical release, not theatrical release. What am I saying? He's a theater major. He's an actor, and he has been a director for a play. And I think you guys are going to enjoy him because I like him as a person. He's awesome. He's cool. He's funny. He knows the knowledge of Avatar. He knows the knowledge of Doctor Who, which I will bring him back for that. And he has just recently watched The Legend of Korra, and I want to get his spin on it. We will talk more about The Last Airbender, but I want to talk to him more about The Legend of Korra and the character developments of everybody, because the character developments of Legend of Korra gets more discussed than Aang. Not that I'm saying that the Aang gang is like not cool. Like, yeah, they're definitely cool. Definitely. 100%. Don't get me wrong. But people hate Legend of Korra, but I love it because I've understood growing up. It was made for teenagers to understand, oh, well, you can rebel against, adults and you can try to make it on your own, but you're not really, because you need the wisdom. You need to understand the obstacles you're going through. You need to stop. You need to stop and think. You need to talk. You need to make sure that you can do it yourself while healing. You can go through all these types of depression at your lowest point and then understand who you are and what you want to do in this world. And I think that leads to more. And I'm not saying that Aang doesn't go through that, because he has lost a lot, lost a lot in 100 years, especially not being there, and then realizing his life was pretty much gone. He was gone for a long time. Everything he knew, everything he, well, not knew, but everybody he knew is gone, except a couple people. There's Boomy, but who's counting? But I think the way that they taught the differences between Legend of Korra and um the way they taught or showed us in Last Airbender was a little more kid friendly, and Legend of Korra wasn't. But say I'm wrong. All right, I don't know what else to say, but I'm gonna say my goodbyes. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Hey geeks, if you want to hear more from us, check us out on our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Subscribe, like, or follow on any of the social networks mentioned, or on Spotify, iTunes, and Stitcher. We love to do what we do and hope you enjoy what we do. Just remember, Geek Mythos Podcast.
It made me who I am, and I know it made a lot of people who you are. And the adventures that they taught us about friendship, about being ambitious, even though the weight of the shoulder kind of rests on the weight of your shoulders, kind of rests on your shoulders. The way she could kind of like solar bend because she sees, when she steps, wow, when she stomps,